Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. The Houston Rockets have won against the Dallas Mavericks. Final score 102 to 93. The first time that the Rockets have held an opponent team to under 100 points in about 2 weeks. The last time they did it was against the Raptors. Of course, that was the game that snapped the 20-game losing streak. But yeah, a very interesting game today. A lot of things to talk about and a lot of really interesting takeaways from this game. But before that, of course, stat recap. John Wall tonight in his first game back, 31 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 4 steals, 12 for 23 from the field, and 40% from three, a plus 22. John Wall really, really impactful. And what a game back for John Wall.
Definitely. Honestly, thinking about him and his return, we thought that, he would be kind of rusty, not having played for about a week and a half. He's having that knee soreness in him. But no, just came in, took his role as the leader, the ball handler, the offensive like initiator, just like leads the entire team just with him on the floor, him playing. It's like having a second coach out there. The Everything just runs so much more smoothly, and it was just a great game from him overall.
Yeah, just again, it's really nice to see. A lot of people were saying the wall is done or whatever. And it's nice that he's still being able to play at a high level despite people saying that he maybe should take surgery and end his season. But again, he himself saying in the post-game interview today with the Rockets network, he said, quote, he said, quote, a lot of people thought I was going to sit out for the rest of the season because we didn't have a chance to make the playoffs. But I love the game too much. I've been out for 2 years and I love the city I'm playing for, end quote. It seems like Wall, even in his short time with the Rockets, he's really poured his heart and soul into the city. And he's he loves the game of basketball. He loves playing, and that's something that you can really respect. And the fact that he's been able to come back and ball out in his first game back is really nice to see. And of course, we hope that he can continue and help and continue his good form for the Houston Rockets. The next thing that we will talk about is Christian Wood. Little bit of a bounce back game. He has been struggling over the past few games, but tonight a very very solid game for Christian Wood with 22 points, 10 rebounds, 8 for 17 from the field and 5 for 8 from three, and a plus 18 for him, and a really nice bounce back game for Christian Wood. And it's been really nice to see.
Yeah, Christian coming into this game, he actually to start off the game, he was 1 for 6 from the field, but he didn't let that affect him. He kept grinding, doing all the dirty work. Ended up having a very good, efficient, pretty fairly efficient game after starting off very slowly. Christian Wood over the last few games, it really looked like his ankle was still kind of bothering him. Not more like it was like paining him, but like he was very cautious with it. And in this game, he looked a lot more fluid out there, especially on the defensive end. You could see he was doing a lot, contesting a lot of shots. And as for his offensive game, it's always there. He's been shooting the ball very well. So, it's just good to see him back out there. It's looking like his ankle is like he's past that. He's back to his shape, back to the Christian Wood that we saw pre-injury. And yeah, it was just a great game. Him having to guard, Kristaps Porzingis, as well as like the other big men. He took that challenge. He did it very well. And yeah, he definitely had the overall better game than Porzingis.
Yeah, completely outplayed him from the little that I've seen, and just he's just been such a talented player when he's been healthy. He's been so great for us. And another game that he's just been really really good for the Rockets. Now that he's healthy, we're seeing that Christian Wood that we saw before the injuries, which he was playing at pretty much an all-star form, and I think that's back and it's here to stay. Kevin Porter Jr. tonight, a really good game. It doesn't show up in the stats. His stats were pretty average for his performance: 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 for 9 from the field, 2 for 5 from three, and a plus 14. But the big stat that it on the stat sheet is no, it's kind of mediocre. But if you watch the game, it's huge. His one block was a block which pretty much sealed the game, and that block also led to a transition dunk on the other end. And this is new for Kevin Porter Jr. Um, he's not really known for his defensive prowess. And so the fact that he can get the dagger for the game, not on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, is really nice to see. And that's another development in his game. And again, it seems like every single game, Kevin Porter Jr. taking a step forward in his game.
Right, right. Great on the defensive end. He had to spend a lot of the time of this game guarding Luka Doncic, which Kevin Porter being, I believe, 6'4", and Luka being 6'7", also much heavier and just a lot stronger than he is. He still kept up with them and really did very well against him. The whole Rockets they held Luka to just 30 or not they held the Mavericks to just 38% shooting from the field and only 25% from the three. Great defensive work by the entire squad. Now back to KPJ, he he had to embrace a smaller role, sharing the ball handling duties with John Wall in today's game. For that reason, that's why his stats don't look that well, but he's still doing it just as well as ever. And it's really good to see that he's capable of working with off the ball. He's able to still impact the game however way. He doesn't have to have the ball in his hand. So if like in the draft, the Rockets do land a high pick and take like a Kate Cunningham or a Jalen Suggs, Kevin Porter Jr. at the shooting guard position can still play with them, let them do a lot of the ball handling and while still embracing a smaller role. He had a 70% true shooting percentage, man. And this is the second straight highly efficient game for him, except this time he was excelling in a smaller role.
Yeah, Kevin Porter Jr., his efficiency has been the one sort of detraction in his game, the one thing that he has needed to improve on. And the fact that he's been doing it now, 2 games in a row now, is really nice to see. And we're, of course, hoping that it's something that he can keep up. Because if he can get his efficiency straight, there's pretty much that's pretty much it. He is going to make that superstar leap in just a matter of time. And the fact that we're seeing him develop right in front of our eyes is really, really good to see. And the extended minutes and the fact that he's been able to consistently be on the court has been really nice for his player development. And I think the Houston Rockets coaching staff has been doing so well in making him be able to utilize his talent in the right way and also keep him good as far as his off court self. And the next thing I believe that is worth talking about is Kelly Olynyk. He had a career high 18 rebounds today, and also just elite defense all game long. Just Kelly Olynyk has been, I feel like he's been the dream pickup. Him and Christian Wood. That's in it. That's a lineup that Steven Silas has been trying as of late with Olynyk and Wood in the front court as a power forward center combination, and it's been working to near perfection in my opinion. And it's just been such a good lineup. And Kelly Olynyk has been an amazing addition for the Houston Rockets. A lot better than even I expected. I was an early critic of Kelly Olynyk for the Rockets, but he's been just amazing, and I think he's blown everyone's expectations out of the water.
Right. And Kelly Olynyk deserves all the credit, rightfully so. Before I didn't know that he was really this good of a player, both offensively, defensively, as like a playmaker. Just everything about him it's been pretty like new, and it feels like this Rocket system under Coach Silas is just made for a player like him to excel. That stretch like four, stretch five kind of big man who's also big enough to like be a defensive presence in the paint while also being a great playmaker and an all-around just high IQ level player. I a player like him should have been with the Rockets during the James Harden era, and it's really like kind of grinding my gears that we didn't have this like depth and bench while we had James Harden. Because if we did, it would definitely have led to a championship. But all in all, we're glad to have him now. He is a free agent at the end of this year, and I definitely expect the Rockets to bring him back as a good veteran, like person who can like help in the locker room. Not just that, but also impact the game very well. Also, him and Christian Wood, that power forward center lineup that people were kind of skeptical about, it's been working really well. So, Coach Silas, he started the game off and it worked really well. So, give Olenek all the credit he needs. He's really been a bright spot for Houston. And honestly, I can say this with full confidence. The Rockets fleeced Miami by giving up Victor Oladipo, who has not been playing that well, and receiving a player like Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, I mean, when the first the trade first went down, it seemed like it was Miami that had finessed the Houston Rockets, but now it seems like it's the other way around. I mean, you've got Kelly Olynyk, who's been playing just amazing for us. I think if I'm not mistaken, he's been averaging somewhere around 20 points per game, whereas Oladipo, he's been pretty much just been scoring like what 10, 15, 8, 7 points on terrible efficiency. And the difference in those two guys' play is just so vast and noticeable that I think it's hard to deny that while the Rockets may not have won that trade, it definitely is not as bad as people thought it was. And again, I feel like we were all doubting Rafael Stone at first, but I think in Stone we trust is starting to become something that we should apply more often and just give Rafael Stone's moves some time to actually play out on court and see how it is before judging them or judging Rafael Stone's moves as a whole. Now, the team defense tonight was just amazing. Held Dallas to just 38% from the field and 25% from three. Luka Doncic could not get a break. He just couldn't get going at all. Um, Whoever you had on him, John Wall, Kevin Porter Jr., Jayshawn Tate, or Avery Bradley, they put him in jail pretty much. They had him on lockdown, and he just really couldn't do anything. And the fact that we've been able to guard Luka Doncic like this is really good. Is really nice to see for our team defense, especially when you consider the offensive talent that Luka Doncic is.
And it wasn't just Luka Doncic. The Rockets held Josh Richardson to he only had 1 point. He was 0 for 9 from the field, 0 for 6 from three. Um, Dorian Finney-Smith only had 9 points after having, I believe, 25 points in their last win against Dallas. Their other starter, Nicola Melli, only had 2 points. And off the bench, they pretty much, it was just Tim Hardaway Jr. as usual, the Rockets like destroyer, and Jalen Brunson, who had decent games. But all in all, when you can stop Luka, you can stop the Mavericks. Without him, they are basically their entire offense just falls apart. Luka plays very similarly to how James Harden plays here in Houston. A lot of like ISO ball, passing out to the open player. So if you're able to guard the James Harden, the Luka Doncic, your team should be very well. Also, let's not forget just that, since the Rockets were pretty much in the lead for most of this game, they had that momentum. And we've mentioned this a lot on this channel, how when the Rockets do tend to have like a lead, even if it's like a short lead, their defensive intensity just picks up so much more than if they were trailing. Because if they're trailing, it seems like they're putting most of their energy towards the offensive end, trying to get back into the game. That's why like when they're down double digits, it's usually not a good sign for the Rockets, and they end up going down even more rather than even making it a close game. But in this case, all around, great game for the Rockets. Good win for the Rockets, good momentum win. The whole team was just, it seemed like it was hyped up. Christian Wood with that final dunk at the end, doing his signature, yelling into the crowd. John Wall and KPJ, the mentor, the teacher, and the protege, the pupil, they're just like bonding. And John Wall saying himself that my job is to help Kevin Porter Jr. out as much as possible. Kevin Porter Jr. is a great talent. I have been watching him since high school. I know how much talent he's got, and I'm just trying to help him be a great professional. That's all. This is just amazing news to hear, to the fact that even Kevin Porter Jr. is taking all this advice, incorporating it into his own game, and it's just going to help him be a better player because John Wall is just like that point guard that every team wants. At times he's pass first, which Kevin Porter Jr. is learning to do very well, while also he knows how to take over a game in the clutch like he did tonight.
And I mean, Kevin Porter Jr., again, like I said earlier, the fact that this game sealing play was not on the offensive end, but on the defensive end is a really nice progression to see. And of course, having John Wall as a mentor is really nice. He's been a great veteran leader as far as mentoring our young guys, especially when you consider a lot of our young core is either guards or something like that. It's nice to have John Wall be a mentor, and he's done wonders for Kevin Porter Jr. And you can see Kevin Porter Jr. maturing on the court on a day by day basis. So, I mean, it's very noticeable. John Wall's mentorship for the Houston Rock. Oh, sorry, for Kevin Porter Jr. And the core four, I would say, for the Rockets scoring right now, which consists of John Wall, Kelly Olynyk, Christian Wood, and Kevin Porter Jr., combining for 77 points, 35 rebounds, 14 assists, 50% from the field, 44% from three. An insane night for our core four offensively. And if they can keep some form of this up, I think obviously we're not a playoff team or anything, but I think we can be a lot more competitive than we have been over the past few weeks. And, we won't just be a stepping stone for any team to just come in, beat us, and just move on to the next game. We'll actually give them a run for their money if our core four of scoring can play like this. Our next game on Friday is against the Los Angeles Clippers. And again, that is going to be a challenge for us. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, all the other guys. It is also DeMarcus Cousins, his first game against the Rockets ever since he was waived. What are you looking forward to in that game?
Looking forward to the defensive end. The Clippers have been quite a threat, especially offensively this year. They just have so many players that they can go to. Of course, there's Kawhi Leonard. Paul George has had a crazy game. I think he had like 22 points in the first quarter or something like that in his last game. They have so many reliable, role players, starters like Serge Ibaka. I think he's injured, but besides him, there's also like Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, and then off the bench they have a pretty deep team. Plus, again, Boogie's return. That's going to be something very interesting. So just looking for how the Rockets are going to be competitive. I feel like the Rockets will definitely be competitive. We're at the point now with, all our players coming back from injury, battling hard, making games really competitive against good playoff bound teams. Like this Mavericks team will probably make the playoffs. Against the Suns in our last game, it was a very competitive game until the very end. And I'm pretty sure against this Clippers team, we're also going to do a very good end. We're also going to do a very good job on both ends of the court. It's going to be a great game. Be sure to tune in that day for our post game.
Yeah, again, that's going to be a really interesting game. Two of the best two-way players in the league, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. It'll be interesting to see how they do against our defense and also how we can do against them. And that wraps it up for this post-game video. Of course, let us know what you think about this game and also the upcoming game against the Los Angeles Clippers down in the comments below. We'll talk about it there. And be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.